Leave me alone!
Today we're going to be looking at my process in creating a stylized painting using a movie still from the movie Django Unchained with the amazing art style from Louise Cruz. Yeah, let's get straight into it, y'all. So now at this point I have already made all the sketching, and now I can start putting in all the flats in terms of like the face and the clothing. So yeah, how I did this was I made a sketch over the movie still, right? And then I exaggerated some shapes. So I decided to make his beard a little bit longer and more square, and made his face a lot more longer, you know, just to give it a more stylized look to it, you know. So yeah, now the shapes are very geometric and simple shape. At this point, I decided to start working on the background. So the background would have been just a painterly style. It's a very simple thing because in the movie still, it's a blurred background. So I didn't want to put in too many things, right? So yeah, I decided to use a lot of layers to create this layered painted feeling to the background. I really liked it. As you can see, I had to get a feel of how I wanted the background to look and all that. But yeah, using a lot of brushes and a lot of blend modes, I got to a really good place, and I'm really happy with that. So now this is the step so yeah, at this point I decided to put in the midtones for the shading. Now these are going to be the ones that are going to be showing up the most. So they're the tones that are going to be in the middle. It's not just one tone, but this is like where all the major shadings places are. So just blocking out where all the shading will be really does help in terms of like understanding how the lighting worked in the scene. So yeah, just getting that done, just using the lasso tool to get those geometric shapes so that I don't have to go in and like, you know, draw it in myself. It makes everything a lot easier. Now I started putting in some color variations in the clothing. So yeah, and just putting in like the tiny details that I may have missed. So I start off with the skin, then I started shading the clothing. So I'll use the lasso tool, right, to make the basic shape, and then just create most of the shading for using that method, you know. And then I'll go in with a softer brush or more painterly brush to draw in how the clothing is shaded, you know. Because Ruiz Cruz, that's how the style works, you know. That's how the artist does that style. And yeah, just starting to put in the shadings on like the other half of the face and all that really does help, and creating like the ambient shading. Ruiz Cruz is that their work is it's very geometric, but then at the same time there are areas where the geometric shading does blend into like the skin. It's not all just solid shapes, you know, and that creates a very appealing shape in terms of like creating all of the shading. Now I started adding in the darker tones. These tones are the ones that really do bring life to the image. Now all of these tones are the ones that I'm going to be putting in like at the bottom of the lips, the nostrils and all that. It adds more depth to the image, I think. This was really my favorite part. At this point, I'm really happy with the image. It's really starting to come to life, you know, starting to come. Yeah, you all know, as an artist, when you get to a certain point when you're drawing, it starts just to flow, you know. And this is that part, I guess. And yeah, this is where I really started enjoying it. So now, as you can see, I'm trying to create more variation in the shading and the clothing and all that, just making things look a little bit more coherent, you know, adding a little bit more detail and a few lighter mid-tones in the other mid-tones. So these are like the secondary mid-tones. it just adds more depth when you don't have like just dark, light, and normal. You know, when you have mid-tones, but then there are different types of mid-tones and dark tones, and there are more like the levels to each level, if you catch what I'm trying to say. That's how Ruiz Cruz creates that layered effect on their art, you know, and I think that's what makes it so good. Right now, I'm just like turning off and on all the layers just to get it all right. Just putting in all the darkest shadings in the art. This is At this point, I think this looks so good, and I'm really happy with this piece right now. At some point, I don't know when it happened, but then I moved one of the layers, and I think it's one of the clothing layers. It started to clip a little bit there, but it's not really a big deal. At some point, I do fix it. So yeah, I create a lasso tool and start shading in, but then I don't shade in that completely through. So that's how she creates that brushy feeling. Is that you don't paint and fill that lasso tool up. You know, you leave a little bit of space at like the edges and all that, just to make it look a little bit more layered, a little bit nicer. You know what I mean? So yeah, at this point, I'm just enjoying this. I'm flowing. This is just a beautiful point in the art piece, honestly. And yeah, just adding in all the. I think at this point I'm adding like the darkest. These are the blacks of the shadings. So like the dark tones, this is like the darkest tone of the dark tones. That just creates the layered feelings, you know. And yeah, at this point I'm starting to like think about how the lighting is going to work and all that, all the highlights on his skin and all that. That's when I actually started to think about it. Just getting the right tones was a little bit difficult, and like getting the right highlights on him. Let me take a sip of coffee here. Now at this point, this is really the fun point. Getting the right tones was a little bit difficult, because I tried to stay as close as I possibly could to like the movie still, in terms of like what colors they used. I chose a little bit more saturated colors to give a little bit more life to the image, but if you look at it by side, it still does look like the same movie still, you know, because at this point I'm just trying to focus on the lighting of the drawing and understanding how like what's the word I'm looking for? The composition. Quentin Tarantino is a masterful like filmmaker. He has an eye for like striking and appealing shots in his movies, you know. So yeah, maybe studying and using movie stills will translate into my own art. You know, I can start to understand these things like more clearly and start implementing them more automatically into my own art. You know, that's how we learn from the greats. Now at this point I'm just adding some kind of variation to the hat and the clothing, because there's a warm light coming from screen left that's making the hat look like a greenish color, you know. So yeah, just adding that bit of variation in the hat as well really does sell the lighting that I'm trying to go for here. So now I'm creating a lasso tool to begin adding the more nuances, like the brim of the hat. It has a little bit of a color variation, and yeah, just adding that so that the image just feels alive. You know what I mean? Just adding tiny variations and just layering it on. That's how you get this painting style. You know, you just keep layering little by little. Small details, but then you have to be careful not to do too much of that. At this point I'm really happy with the drawing, and now I add the ambient shading of the night. It's like a dark bluish color, and adding a little bit of noise, you know, just to give it a little bit more life. I think that really did go a little far. So now I start working on the lighting. So there's a fire. I forgot the film, but I think he's looking at an explosion or something. But there's a fire coming in from screen left. So yeah, I started adding in like I started adding in like a solid light on the left side of his face, and then I start blending in that to create a more coherent, way or like how light behaves actually. So yeah, so you create like you block it out first, and then you start going in with an eraser or a blend tool to like create that, so that everything just flows together. It's not just gigantic blotches of space of shapes just on the drawing, and making it blend in together really does help. Yeah, so yeah, I'm adding a little bit of lighting on the lips, and yeah, getting the reflections right on the glasses as well. I think that really did help. At this point, I'm just putting in like the little highlights here and there on the metallic part of the hat. Yeah, at this point, yeah, I'm really happy with this drawing at this point. Just putting in all the highlights for the gold and all that. You see, like, it's these tiny little things that just really do bring life to the drawing. It really does. This is the beauty of Louise Cruz's arts, because it's very simple, but then it's layered, it's detailed. So yeah, just putting in the light bouncing off of his beard, so that it just doesn't look like it's flat. And for some reason, I went back to add a few things to the background, and then I started working on the smoke. So yeah, at first I blocked in like the overall shape of the smoke, and then went back to the lasso tool, creating spots where like the smoke is more concentrated than other spots. The lasso tool has been an amazing tool for me, and I think you guys should experiment with it too. It really does help. It makes things look really good, so that you don't have to manually shape these things yourself. And now I'm making a stylized cigarette here, just making the first saturated layer and then giving it a nice glowing effect. And yeah, I don't know, that looks so good. I really like that part, you know what I mean? And it looks really different from the actual drawing, yeah. So now at this point, I'm showing where like the light is bouncing off on the other side of his cheek. Like small lighting effects, so that it shows that the light bounces here and there, so it wouldn't just be on one side of his face. You know what I mean? Now my favorite part was adding that white, ghostly, phantom-like rim light. So first, obviously, I start using the lasso tool, getting it here and there, and then I just start painting it in. I really enjoyed this part of the process, honestly. It just makes everything come together, It makes it look so good. Like, damn. At this point, I was just really happy with this, There are a few things I can look at and think to myself, okay, cool. I could have rendered out that a little bit more. I could have added a little bit more shading on the glasses, like the gold of the glasses. But yeah, for the most part, this was the most enjoyable part. Just getting that painterly rim light in, because it's not just supposed to be a solid shape. It's still fabric that the light is reflecting on. And yeah, it just gives it such a beautiful cinematic feel to it that I was like really happy with, And yeah, I took a lot of liberties in terms of like the style and all that, but I'm really happy with this stylized drawing. And yeah, at this point I just started blending out the background, and I'm really happy with this drawing. I think I took a lot of cues in terms of lighting and atmosphere from the original still, and yeah, I think I translated it very well, making it more stylized in the style of Louise Cruz. And that style, I'm so happy with it now. I'm going to be making a lot more drawings using that style because, it's amazing. And I had a lot of fun with this joint, honestly. Hands down, probably the best drawing I've made for 2023. Yep, I said it. This was the best drawing I made in 2023. Yeah, because I'm learning new styles. I'm pushing my artistic abilities. I feel like that's what made it such a successful project, honestly. So yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching the video today. I really enjoyed making the art and yeah, studying this a lot more. Will be the next movie still that we'll be doing next week. Will be another Tarantino movie in the same style as Ruby's Cruise. Yeah, thank you so much for watching the video, guys. Leave a like, subscribe, and yeah. This is your boy V, and I will catch you on the next video. And remember, do good and be kind. See ya.